I never meant for the truth to come out. For years, I let them believe I was drifting, unambitious, underachieving, stuck in some forgettable job. It was easier that way. No expectations, no pressure, no one asking for favors. But life has a flair for timing, and sometimes it chooses the most ironic moment to blow the lid off everything. The annual Whitaker family barbecue was in full swing, bathed in warm autumn light and the scent of mesquite smoke and superiority. We were at my parents' house just outside Tulsa, manicured lawn, string lights overhead, folding chairs filled with people who never stopped offering opinions nobody asked for. "Oh, look, it's Delaney," my mother called out, her voice buttered with passive disappointment. I walked in carrying a bowl of roasted veggie couscous, already braced for impact. "You still doing that receptionist thing, honey?" she asked, her pearl earrings flashing like warning beacons. "Executive coordinator," I said, steady as stone. "At Valiant Group." I dressed in jeans and a soft blue top, simple, forgettable. At 34, I'd mastered invisibility. My cousin Brooke breezed past, heels clicking like punctuation marks, her curled hair bouncing in rhythm. "Just flew back from the NYC pitch," she announced, flashing her VP of sales badge like a trophy. Their CEO loved my numbers. I nearly laughed. She didn't realize she was bragging about impressing me. 3 years ago, I quietly acquired majority ownership of Valiant through a complex investment strategy. Marcus Lynn, the CEO she was referring to, reported directly to me. But no one in my family knew that. They still thought I was barely scraping by. I let them. "Delaney," Aunt Ruth slurred, swaying slightly with her third sangria. "Ever think about going back to school? Get out of that phone answering rut. 2 MBAs and a doctorate in organizational leadership." I just smiled. "Maybe someday," I said, sipping my sparkling water while mentally prepping for Monday's board meeting, where Brooke would present. To me, quiet power. It's sweeter than any barbecue sauce. "I'm comfortable where I am, Aunt Ruth." "There's your problem," my father chimed in, balancing a burger on a flimsy plate. "No ambition. Your sister's already clearing 6 figures, and you're still filing papers." I inhaled slowly. "I made 8 figures last year, Dad." Brooke lit up under the praise. "We've got a huge company meeting next week. The CEO's showing up in person. Everyone's freaking out." Yes, they were. I'd finally decided to step out from behind the curtain. Under my leadership, Valiant had doubled in global reach. Until now, I'd led quietly via proxies and private channels. But it was time. "Will you even see the CEO, Delaney?" my mother asked sweetly, twisting the knife. "From your little cubicle, I mean." Before I could answer, a sleek black Tesla pulled into the driveway. My stomach tightened. Marcus Lynn stepped out, effortless in designer casual, worth more than half the backyard combined. Brooke stood taller, instantly adjusting her posture. "Oh my God, that's my boss. What's he doing here?" Marcus scanned the backyard until he saw me. A warm smile spread across his face. "Mrs. Whitaker," he called, striding toward me. "Didn't expect to find you out here today." My dad's burger slipped from his hand. My mother's wine glass shattered against the patio. Silence fell like a dropped curtain. I stood, smoothing my jeans and top. "Marcus," I said calmly, "welcome to the family barbecue." The mask was off. Years of pretending evaporated in a blink. Brooke's voice cracked. "You're the CEO? No, you're just a coordinator." I met her stunned gaze. "Actually, Brooke, I'm your boss. I own Valiant Group. Have for 3 years. My father's face turned crimson. "This some kind of joke?" Marcus stepped forward, voice level and clear. "No joke, sir. She's the real deal." And just like that, the room, or backyard, rearranged itself. "She's one of the sharpest, most visionary leaders I've worked with," Marcus added. "Since she took over, Valiant's value has tripled." My mother dropped into a patio chair. "But you bring couscous, you rent, you wear clothes from Target." I lifted my chin. Just enough truth. "I choose simplicity, Mom. Doesn't mean I have to." A gasp rolled through the crowd like a thunderclap. Aunt Ruth was already on her phone. Uncle Charlie choked on his beer. And Brooke, poor Brooke, looked ready to unravel. Marcus hesitated, realizing he'd just blown up my secret. My apologies, Miss Whitaker, he said. I saw the address in Valiant's legacy files. I thought I'd stop by to discuss the Morgan acquisition in person. Before I could respond, Brooke snapped. This is insane. I spent 3 years building that company, sleepless nights, endless decisions, clawing my way up, while you all stood back, watching me stumble, judging every step. Brooke's glare met mine, but I didn't flinch. No, Brooke, I said evenly. I've been running the company. Every raise, every promotion, every glowing or not so glowing review you got, you earned them, including the times you took credit for your team's work. Her face flushed deep crimson. Everyone knew Brooke had a reputation for stealing credit. She'd been doing it since we were kids. You're lying, my father barked. Delaney? She can't even pick paint colors without asking her mother. I swallowed the familiar sting and stood straighter. Would you like to see my tax returns, Dad? Or maybe Valiant's board filings? I'm sure Aunt Ruth has already pulled up half a dozen press releases by now. Right on cue, Aunt Ruth gasped. Valiant Group valued at over $700 million, she read aloud, eyes wide. My mother finally spoke. But why? She asked, voice thin and bewildered. Why pretend to be less? I looked around at all the faces that had spent years dismissing me. Because if I had told you, would you have believed me? The silence was louder than any answer. If you've ever been underestimated by the people who were supposed to know you best, hit subscribe. Because in the next chapter, Delaney Whitaker's quiet reign is about to flip the family legacy on its head. Marcus shifted beside me, clearly realizing he'd stepped into something far more personal than a corporate visit. Maybe I should come back another time. No, I said, calm and firm. Stay, let's finish this. I turned back to my stunned family, their silence now deafening. I kept my success private because I wanted to grow on my own terms, free of your expectations, your assumptions, but more than that, how you treated me when you thought I was nothing. That told me everything I needed to know. From behind the grill, Brooke's husband Darren finally piped up. Wait, if you're that Whitaker, then, last quarter, the office request. Yes, I said, holding his gaze. I'm the one who denied it. Valiant doesn't assign private offices to mid-level managers. Laughter rippled through the yard. Brooke's face went pale. Uncle Charlie, ever the attorney, narrowed his eyes. This Morgan acquisition, does it have anything to do with the merger rumors? I gave him a polite smile. That's confidential corporate information. Then I turned to Brooke. As for that raise you've been bragging about, it's not happening. You can't just do that, she snapped. That's discrimination. No, Brooke, that's accountability. Your last 3 campaigns went over budget. Your team has the highest turnover in the division. And your big pitch last month? It was a near copy of a competitor's 2021 deck. Word for word. Her shoulders sagged under the weight of it. I may be your sister, I added, but at Valiant, I'm your CEO. And unlike this family, we reward merit, not proximity. My mother sat down hard, fanning herself like she might pass out. All this time, she whispered, the things we said. Yes, I said, I remember all of it. The judgment, the condescension, the kids' table, and I rose anyway. I stood tall in my simple Target dress, a quiet middle finger to everything they thought they knew about success. The silence was thick, brittle. Then Marcus cleared his throat. For what it's worth, he said, your daughter runs one of the most respected companies in the industry. Our retention rates are top tier. Our leadership model is studied at Wharton and Stanford. I reached into my leather tote and pulled out an envelope. Dad, I said, handing it to him, this is for you. His hands trembled as he unfolded the deed. The property, this house, this backyard. The mortgage you've been struggling with, it's paid off. He stared at the paper like it might explode. Consider it repayment, I said softly, for all the investments you didn't make in me. Aunt Ruth sputtered on her sangria. Uncle Charlie dropped his phone. Brooke looked like she'd just fainted standing up. I turned to Marcus, my voice shifting to cool, corporate cadence. Now, about the Morgan acquisition, shall we discuss it over dinner? I know a place, no family ties. We walked toward his Tesla. Behind us, the party lay frozen, paper plates abandoned, half-eaten burgers untouched. Then my mother called after me, small and uncertain. But what about the barbecue? I turned once more, taking in the scene, the looks, the silence, the disbelief. I think we're done here, I said. I've got a company to run. I paused. Oh, and Brooke, don't be late to Monday's meeting. We're announcing some restructuring. As Marcus opened the car door, he glanced over. I didn't mean to blow things up like that. I laughed, really laughed. Don't apologize, I said. Some truths require detonation. You going to be okay? I looked out at the road ahead, beyond the lawn, beyond the silence, beyond the expectations I'd outgrown. I've never been better. The following Monday, I walked into Valiant's headquarters in a tailored charcoal suit, heads turned. Madison Brooke stood outside my office, her badge already updated for her reassignment to a much smaller satellite office. Sometimes leadership means making hard calls. Sometimes, it means finally being seen. I sat at my desk, opened the drawer, and pulled out a faded family photo, me, aged 22, smiling like I didn't know yet how small they'd try to make me. I slipped the photo from its frame and fed it into the shredder. Then I opened my laptop and got to work. Because the assistant they all thought I was? She's gone. And the CEO I've always been? She's just getting started. The disappointment they pitted had become the powerhouse they never saw coming. But I didn't need their applause. I stopped chasing it the day I bought my first firm. They were only just catching up. Success, I'd learned, doesn't need an audience. It needs conviction. And sometimes, a barbecue bombshell. In the weeks that followed, my phone buzzed nonstop. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly remembered our close bond. Aunt Ruth called to pitch her son's Eco-lawn care startup. Uncle Charlie wanted to glance over our corporate contracts. Even Mom's Bridge Club started showing up at Valiant's front desk claiming to be lifelong family friends. I instructed security to turn them all away. The strangest shift came from my parents. My mother began showing up with homemade lunches, trying to rewrite decades with turkey on rye and awkward nostalgia. I just don't understand why you couldn't tell us, she said one afternoon, rearranging framed photos she'd brought from my childhood. I threw them away as soon as she left. Remember my college graduation? I asked. When Brooke got a car for making Dean's List, and I got a lecture for studying finance instead of finding a husband? Her cheeks flushed. We just wanted what was best for you. No, I said gently, you wanted what looked best to everyone else. My dad took a different approach, mailing me clippings about Valiant, every article circled, every note signed. My daughter did this. That's my girl. The same daughter he once called directionless. Brooke's fallout was more complicated. After her reassignment, she filed a formal complaint. Familial bias, she claimed. HR, unaware of our connection, launched a full investigation. The results weren't in her favor. Merit doesn't lie. Taking credit for teamwork. Altering timesheets. Charging spa visits to the company card. Rather than fire her outright, I gave her a choice. Resign with a clean reference. Or face public termination and a permanent stain. She arrived the next morning red-eyed and brittle. You're ruining my life, Brooke hissed, mascara streaking. After everything I've done for this company. I stayed calm. You mean the Johnson campaign your assistant created? Or the doctored expenses you filed? That's standard practice. No, Brooke, that's fraud. I slid a folder across the desk. Your resignation. I've already signed the reference letter. It's more than you deserve. But despite everything, you're still my sister. She snatched it with shaking hands. You think you're perfect now, don't you? The big boss, better than the rest of us. No, I said quietly. I just stopped letting this family decide what I'm worth. That evening, I received a flurry of texts from my parents. Fix this, apologize, make it right. I replied with screenshots from the investigation. And one message. Would you prefer I press charges? The silence that followed was louder than any argument. But the shift had begun. I overhauled the marketing department. Promoted undervalued talent. Implemented a review system based on results, not relationships. Valiant didn't rise through nepotism, and under me, it never would. 6 months later, I walked into Thanksgiving at my parents' house. This time, I pulled up in my own Tesla. Not to blend in, but to stand out. The shift in energy was comical. Relatives who once overlooked me now clung to every word. Aunt Ruth bragged about her CEO niece. Uncle Charlie had a laminated Wall Street Journal article on the mantle. Brooke wasn't there. Last I heard, she'd found work at a smaller firm, finally learning to stand on her own merit. At dinner, my mother raised her glass to Delaney, who reminded us that success doesn't always look the way we expected it to. I raised mine back. And to authenticity, which matters more than appearances. After dessert, as I turned to leave, my father stopped me. I was wrong, he said quietly, about everything. I nodded. I accepted the words. But forgiveness? That takes time. That Monday, my assistant buzzed in. Your mom's here with lunch. I smiled. Tell her I'm in a meeting. And in the window's reflection, I saw her, not the girl who once shrank to fit in, but the woman who chose to rise. No longer hiding. Just me. Unapologetically. On my desk sat a new photo. Not of family, but of my executive team, taken at our last charity gala. These were the people who saw me. Not as someone's daughter. Not as someone's sister. But as who I had always been. If you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or told you weren't enough, I see you. Drop a comment, tell me where you're watching from, or share your story. I read them, and trust me, it matters. Hit subscribe if you believe that quiet strength deserves a spotlight. And remember, never shrink to fit someone else's comfort zone. Your worth isn't up for debate, and your success doesn't need permission. Build quietly if you must, but build anyway. Because one day, they'll stop seeing who they thought you were, and start recognizing who you've become. That moment? It's coming.